I'd like to take a moment and thank our sponsor. If you have a laser device for training and you want to take it to the next level, or if you're looking to get into using a laser device for training, check out the products at laserapp.com. LASRAPP.com. You can use code CSP2021 for 15% off the items you've selected. And thanks for checking them out. Welcome to this week's edition of the Casual Shooters Podcast. This week you have me, Dave, and a guest. Our guest this week is none other than Dazhi Zhang. If you don't know Dazhi, you might want to get acquainted. He took second place at last year's Carry Optics Nationals. So let's go ahead and bring him in. Hi, Dazhi.
Hi, Dave. Hi, everyone.
All right, Dazhi, why don't you take a second and go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah. So, hi, everyone. I'm Dazhi Zhang. I was actually born and raised in a small city in the northern part of China. So after college in 1998, I think I came to the United States for graduate study, and I've stayed here since that time. This year, I'm 47 years old and have a full-time job as a software architect. I have two children, both boys. One is 18 years old, going to college, and the other 14 going to high school this year. And when it comes to shooting guns, to say that I'm a late starter is an understatement. Yeah, I bought my first rifle and handgun in, I think it's 2014, and I was 39 years old, and that's when I first shot a handgun, in fact. So. And at that time, I was really into PRS style, long distance bolt action shooting. So I constantly go to this range where they have 1,000 yard shooting lengths, and they happen to be hosting some IDPA matches. I think it's every month on Saturday morning. And one Saturday morning, I just stopped by and watched them shoot, and kind of instantly I got fascinated. It's fast paced and it's dynamic. I mean, it's everything I wanted to do. And so I got hooked into IDPA, shot IDPA for a year and a half, then moved on to USPSA in late 2015. Then I have been shooting USPSA exclusively since that time. So that's kind of a short intro for myself. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Very interesting. All right. So as I mentioned before we started, I'm going to ask you a few personal questions, and then we'll get into the nuts and bolts of how Dazhi got to where he is. All right. So number one, we always ask, what's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie is Interstellar. Well, overall, I'm really into hard sci-fi, so yeah, that's definitely the best movie. Yeah, like.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen that one, but it sounds very sci-fi-ish.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, it's not just a regular sci-fi, it's pretty hard sci-fi. So there's a difference between sci-fi versus hard sci-fi.
Okay, what's that difference?
Well, hard sci-fis usually are based really on real science, and it's not fantasy or just people imagining things. It has science basis and kind of realistic. You can project into the future. You can see that's happening, in the distant future. So,
Okay, more fact than fiction.
yeah, kind of. Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I like that. I'll have to check that out. Interstellar.
Yeah.
Favorite book?
Favorite book? Yeah, along the same line. So there's a book called The Blind Side. The author is called Jason Watts. I think he's a Canadian scientist and also an author. And this book is really, I mean, in my mind, it's a classic for hard sci-fi.
The Blind Side. Okay.
Blind Side, yeah. So there's a sequel called Echopraxia. It's pretty good as well, but I like the first book better.
So what does the first book deal with?
It's kind of a first contact scenario, but it's, yeah, I don't want to give everybody a spoiler, but it's not as you would expect. So, yeah. but it's, I
Okay.
mean, yeah, it's kind of a first contact story.
Okay. So what by first contact you mean like alien life?
Yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
Interesting. All right. So going along with that, Huggy likes to ask the question, which is very fictional sci-fi. Your favorite superhero,
Um,
if you have one.
Superheroes. Yeah, I'm pretty old school. Superman is definitely my most favorite superhero. Yeah,
Okay.
that's the first superhero I got to know. I remember I was in elementary school, 1982 or 83. I don't remember, but yeah, it was the first movie they kind of introduced in China from, I guess, Hollywood, and
Hmm.
yeah, I was so impressed. I still remember the feeling I after I watched that movie. I think I was like second or third grade. Superman is definitely my favorite.
And if you think about it, I mean, first contact, alien life form. There you go.
Yep. Yep.
All right. So what you have very interesting that you've shot PRS as you see behind me. I got my
Mm,
start in long range stuff.
cool.
What is your favorite gun and caliber?
Well, right now it's definitely what I'm shooting. I shoot a Tenfolio Stock 2 in 9 mil. That's absolutely my most favorite handgun. I
Okay.
sold all, by the way, I sold all my rifles just to purchase ammo and the gear to get into USPSA. So
I could see
unfortunately, yeah,
that.
yeah, I don't have any left right now. So
Oh goodness.
yeah.
All right. So the personal question I want to ask you then, the one specifically for you, what was your first rifle and handgun in 2014?
Yeah, so the first rifle was a Savage 10T. I think the T stands for tactical. I did purchase an aftermarket chassis, and I think I had a Night Force scope, and I really loved it. It's, by the way, it's in 308 caliber. It worked pretty well. The
Okay,
first handgun, yeah, I think it's a HK P30 in 9 mil. That's my first ever handgun.
cool. Now, how many PRS matches did you shoot?
Uh, One. Yeah, so yeah, I shot one match. That's it. But
Okay.
I've been going to that range quite frequently back then. Um, I would say if I hadn't watched that IDPA match, I probably will continue be shooting, yeah, PRS matches. But yeah,
It's a much more expensive sport, that PRS.
yeah, very.
Any rifle stuff is way more expensive.
That's true. Yeah.
So I just I haven't shot it in a few years. I made the transition from NRA or bullseye style target shooting out to 1,000 yards
Yeah.
to USPSA and IDPA, and holy cow, it's the ammo alone back then was almost $200 for the match, so
Yes.
it's
Mhm.
expensive.
Very, very. Yeah.
So you said you are from Mao City
You mean where I grew up?
originally? Yes.
It's a very small city. I mean, I don't think anyone would know here. It's a small city near the border between China and Mongolia. So it's
Oh
upper north.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no one
So
probably knows about it. Yeah, it's a very. I did go to college in Shanghai. I think most people probably know Shanghai. And
at least from movies.
yeah, but
So so you had nice, warm, temperate winters then.
yeah, not in my hometown, right?
Yeah. Holy cow! How cold did it get there in the wintertime?
I would say well, I think it's about the same as, let's see, Madison, Wisconsin. Yeah, some
Okay.
upper part of Wisconsin. Yeah,
Yeah. So it gets a little on the nippy side.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And you live where? Where do you live now?
Oh, I live in Texas. I moved here in 2008 and have been here since then. Yeah.
So then I think I got this right. You actually moved from China to Wisconsin, didn't you, initially to go
Yeah.
to school?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. You just liked that temperature so much. You just, oh, where can I go that's exactly the same?
No, I actually hate snow. Officially, I hate snow, and that's why I moved here down to Texas, and I love the weather here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. So 2014. Now, how did you run across? That was when you bought your rifle, your handgun. You
Mhm.
started shooting pistol. Where did you see the IDPA match?
Where I think it's a range in Greenville, Texas. So I live in the north part of Dallas, and about 30 or 40 minutes from my house, there's a range with 1,000 yard shooting lanes. It's called Jacobs Plain shooting range in Greenville, near Greenville, and that's where they hold monthly IDPA matches. Yeah, so that's when I first saw how this action pistol works. It's just shocking. I mean, that's my first impression. I mean, how can you let people run with a pistol and keep shooting like running around? It's just amazing. Yeah,
So
it's so
then,
fantastic.
when you
Mhm.
saw that and thought that was running around with a pistol, what did you think
Yeah.
the first time you saw a USPSA match?
Well, by that time, I kind of already kind of accustomed to this, so there's not much shock. Yeah, for the first USPSC match, I kind of yeah. By that time, I also took. I think I've already taken a class from Ben. So yeah, I think I
Oh,
just gradually rolled over into USPSC because everybody at my club says, "Dazzy, you're fast. You should already do USPSC." Like okay. So yeah, I think it's a very natural transition from IDPA to USPSC for me.
okay.
Mhm.
I can see that. Are you going to challenge JJ for his national championship in IDPA too?
No, I haven't shot IDPA for a long time. No, my gun is not legal. I think the new rule might make it legal. I don't know, but yeah, right now I'm just no. I don't have any plan to shoot IDPA. I mean, given the time I have, I all I can do is focus on USPSA.
Okay. Well, shoot, I had a. Oh, when did you said you took a class from Ben? When was
Yeah,
that?
yeah. So 2015. So I think it's about May or June of 2015. I took his fundamentals class. That's the first ever class I've taken from any professional coach or shooter. Um, it was really good. Yeah.
Okay, I imagine it
Hmm.
was. Was
Yeah.
that in Wisconsin where you took that?
No, here in Texas. Yeah. So he came down
Okay.
here and yeah, he gave classes, and I took his classes twice. And that's all the classes I've ever taken. Is first is his fundamentals class in 2015. Then the next year after that, 2016, I took his more advanced. It's called drills and skills.
Okay,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I think those are definitely worth taking. I mean, at least for people who are getting into the yeah action pistol sports. So
So, how long did it take you once you started shooting USPSA to be a grandmaster?
um, the year, let's see. So I shot the first USPSA match 20 October 2015, I think. I got the master 2016. Um, actually a year and a half probably. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I started A class, then 3 months M, then I think a year, yes, a year after master, I got the GM. So it's about a year and a half.
Okay. That's still pretty quick. Wow. Now, what did your training look like back then?
Back then, it's a lot of fundamental stuff. Yeah, both dry firing and live firing, focused exclusively on all the basic mechanics, making sure they're right. I think what Ben's class taught me, the most important thing is to be able to self-diagnose. So if you can self-diagnose, you can be your own coach. I think I still believe that's probably the best way to go. I mean, given that most people in the sport are not professional shooters, right? They have full-time jobs, they have family, and all the time and money you have, you probably wanted to kind of use them wisely. I do believe you have to take some classes to begin with, but once you have the ability to diagnose your own shooting, your own training, and you can devise a plan for yourself and move upwards from there. That's probably the most efficient use of your time and money, in my opinion.
Now, when you were self-diagnosing, were you videoing yourself or anything?
Yeah. So I do video myself in all the live firing sessions. Dry firing practices sometimes, but not all the time. I think especially when I'm hitting a roadblock, I have to video myself and slow mo it and just to see what went wrong. I mean, it's kind of very important. Yeah. So videoing,
Oh,
I would highly recommend if you have the budget, get a action camera. Just put it on the range when you're just doing your thing. Let it roll, and when you go home, you watch each of your drills, and you can use slow mo to analyze, to watch. Um, and especially if you have access to other professional shooters like the very best shooters, JJ Max, Ben, etc. And so if you have footage of them, compare it with yours, and it's really helpful. Yeah, I did that a lot. I mean, I still do that today, so it helps.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can't. You seem like a humble guy, but you can't leave yourself out of the picture. I mean, I'm sure your friends ask you questions about shooting because you're not too shabby yourself.
Well, I'm just a, I guess I'm just a hobbyist. I still define myself as a hobbyist.
You're a
I just
casual shooter. There
Yes,
you go.
exactly. Casual shooter, but I love it really much, very, very much. And I put all my spare time and my energy into this, but I don't regret anything, even if I don't win anything. I just like it. Yeah, so that's how it is for me.
So I've noticed in your Instagram, do you have what do you have recording from your point of view? Is it aim cam glasses, or do you
Uh,
just have a GoPro?
I actually have so on the hat, I put a called the Insta360 Go 2. It's a tiny one. It's like less than half an ounce heavy, and it's like you put it on your head, you wouldn't even know it exists. So I really like it. Yeah, the other camera I usually use is the GoPro Max. I put it on the ground and just let it roll. Yeah, so that
Okay,
would
yeah,
take the third person view. Yeah. Mhm.
okay. Because I've noticed that you can see part of your optic in your first person view. So that's why I was
Mm,
like, oh, what's he using?
mhm.
Okay, so you actually attach a small one on your hat. Very
Yes.
interesting.
Yeah.
What is the optic you run on your Tanfo?
I have an SRO 2.5 MOA.
Okay, it looked like an SRO, but
Yeah.
wasn't it? There are so many now that are getting big and round. It's like, is it
Yeah.
an SRO or is it something else?
Yeah.
Okay, how do you like it?
I think definitely the best for USPSC shooting. Yeah, I have used many other brands. I used to run uh, the Fast Fire by Boris. I think I
Okay.
destroyed like 12 or 14 of them.
Wow.
I switched to Venom. Venom is slightly better, but still, I mean, probably like 8 of them. And then I switched to Romeo 3 Max. I think Romeo 3 Max is pretty solid, but I just couldn't get them to stay. I mean, the zero kind of shifts from time to time. I couldn't figure out why. So after trying like 5 or 6 of them, I switched to SRO, and that's where I settled. And haven't had any problem. Well, I did have one problem with SRO. One of them, I had four. One of them, the glass just fell off after like 10,000 round. Um, yeah, so
What?
it's just I think they probably had some kind of defective on the glue. So I sent it
Mm-hmm.
back. Yeah, they glued the glass back, sent the same optic back to me, and I keep using it as it's on my practice gun. So I think this is like almost 20,000 rounds later, and still holds. So
Oh,
I think they're
okay.
pretty solid. Yeah, I believe the first time it's just yeah, the glue was probably defective or something. I don't have any problem with the other three SROs I have.
So it sounds like you might have gotten that 5 o'clock Friday optic that the last one the person had to glue together.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you know Juanzik. We've
Yeah.
had him on, and
Hmm.
I mean, he swears by him. He's got two that he has over 100,000 rounds on each one. So
Yeah.
I don't think there's any more that has to be said about that. So
Yeah. I can see
that's pretty
SROs
solid.
last. Yeah, I can see SROs would last 100,000 to 100,000 should be doable. Yeah.
Yeah, I have an SRO on my Canic, and I have an RMR on my carry gun. So I definitely like the Trijicon.
Mm.
They're just a little on the expensive side. I wish they'd come down in
Yeah.
price a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, so you were the silver medalist last year at Carry Optics Nationals. You were right on JJ's behind. You basically classify yourself as a hobbyist or casual shooter. When you got into the sport, did you anticipate or expect or intend to be where you're at today?
Um, Not really. Yeah, but I do always have this, I guess you can call it a dream. It's more of a long-term goal because I'm not young, right? 47, but I do hope I would someday be able to represent the United States for the World Shoot. So that's kind of my personal dream. But be honest, I last year was I told my friends and buddies that I was hoping I could get top 20 going into the match. That's it. Yeah, because I know there's so many good shooters last year. It's not
Yeah.
just like any other year, right? So,
No.
so getting second place is totally out of far exceeding my expectations. Yeah,
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, that was I mean, as far as for Carry Optics, as far as it's concerned, I mean, that was the most stacked field
yeah,
ever. So to come in second, is huge. So that was pretty amazing. And again, I mean, you were 98.5%. So you were only 1.5% off of JJ, which is not much when it comes to USPSA. So that's pretty solid.
yeah. Thank you.
Did you, did you, so come day three, because I shot nationals too. Come day three, did you know where you were and did any of that affect you?
Yeah, I know. I check scores after each day. I don't check scores during the day. So I
Okay.
kind of know where everybody is. But the funny thing is, I don't feel like it has any impact on me, because I always know like before the match is complete, all the standing, all the rankings are, it's just temporary, right? You don't know
Right.
how the people is gonna shoot the last leg of the match, and
Yeah.
I just did exactly what I did for the first 2 days. I don't think I take into consideration of my standing or ranking at the end of the second day at all. When I started the third day, I just shot the match at my pace and yeah, did what I could. So uh, I have to say it's probably the best strategy though, because
Mm-hmm.
that's how you. Especially for big matches, that's definitely how you get consistent performance. Um, but that's probably also an area I can improve because I'm still, I guess I'm relatively young to the sport, and there are definitely a lot of knowledge, experience I need to gain to really be able to repeat that performance in the future. So yeah, I know I've listened to your podcast of other good shooters, and I'm just learning how they deal with the mental aspect of the game, especially for big matches. I think some of them probably check the scores every stage and make different plans, which personally, I don't know I can do that, or maybe it's something I need to learn how to do it. So, yeah,
It seems like your strategy worked perfectly fine. You know what I mean? Like you said, you
yeah,
were very consistent the whole way. There are some very top level shooters that I've talked about on the podcast before, where they'll burn a stage down, they'll be number one and just crush everybody, but then the next one they'll be ranked 119. They don't have that consistent across the board performance, and I think that's definitely the key to it. And it seems like you definitely have that down. I can imagine there's only a few people that could look at scores every stage and plan something, based on where their standing is. That seems to me to be very difficult. You'd have to have a
Yeah,
very thorough knowledge of the sport.
absolutely. Yeah, that's definitely a science, yeah, or a skill that is gonna demand a lot of understanding, a lot of experience. Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
that's that USPSA math you've got to have a very good grasp on to know,
Yeah.
okay, this is my stage, this is what I need to do. Yeah, that's a lot.
Hmm.
Wow. I feel like it would take you out of your focus for what you need to do shooting wise. But again, that's
Yeah.
why those top level guys can do it.
Hmm.
So your goal last year was just to be top 20, huh?
Hmm. Yep.
Wow. Okay. So what I'm going to jump around a little bit here because you've answered one of my questions. So I want to go back to it later, but that's the
Yeah.
world shoot because that is one of my questions. But this year, I assume you're going to be back at CMP shooting
Hmm.
nationals.
Hmm. Yep.
This year, you're going to be on the super squad. Do you expect that that's going to have any effect on you?
It's hard to say. So I did email the match director, see if I can not, I mean, I can stay on a different squad. Personally, I don't like the super squad, I guess, schedule. I like shooting in the morning. So super squad is PM, AM, and PM. So there are two PMs. I would like to have AM, PM, and AM. But I think there's definitely a justification for potential winners to be on the same squad. Uh, I was given that justification and I agree. So I will be on the super squad. Um, Psychologically, I think it will have some impact, but it's hard to see what kind of impact that would be. Because I honestly always consider myself as a kind of underdog, right? I'm not there to, this is probably just personality. I'm not there to win. I know a lot of sports psychologists would tell you you have to think you're the winner, right? You always want yourself to be number one. But I'm just wanting to perform to my level and have a satisfactory match. That's kind of my mental game for most of my matches. I wanted to perform to the level I am at and not trying to beat anyone or trying to win a trophy or anything. If I shoot a satisfactory match, even if I don't win, I'm really happy. Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah.
That's insightful. And that's awesome. I mean, that doesn't let you down either to where, you're disappointed at the end of a match unless you didn't perform
Right.
well, but as long as you're performing well, you're like, "Hey, this is a great time."
Yeah. Exactly. Yep. Hmm.
Okay. So is your goal this year the same as last year? Top 20 again, or is it different?
Um, I would say it's the same because I know this
Okay.
year it's gonna be even bigger. Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe Christian is gonna come in. Jacob is probably gonna
Oh
shoot still
no.
too. Yeah, yeah,
Wow, if Christian is there, yeah,
yeah.
that's gonna ratchet up everything.
It's just my speculation, by the way. Yeah, I'm just following him on Instagram and seeing him doing his shadow to carry optics and stuff. It's
Right.
crazy.
And why would he be doing it otherwise?
Right.
Yeah. I've always, I've I talked to somebody about it. I don't remember who, but there's a big enough time gap between carry optics and the big four, which is open, for any of those open guys to shoot carry optics nationals and still give them plenty of time
Hmm.
to get back on their open gun and
Yeah.
feel comfortable and be ready for nationals. So I could see this being an even bigger year, which for USPSA is awesome.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
de- definitely ratchets up the pucker factor, though, for sure.
Yep.
So, what does your training look like now? Like this year and last year, what does your training look like?
Every year I kind of stay the same training plan or cadence. So I usually, of course, I dry fire. Whenever I'm not on the range doing live fire, I would do dry fire that day. So usually 30, 45 minutes. Live fire, I mean, my minimum is once per week, but I always try to squeeze the second one in, but sometimes I just couldn't. And before a major match, I would try to do 3 live fires a week, like a week or 2 weeks before the major match. So it's been consistent for the whole time I've been shooting USPS. There's really no major fluctuation up or down in terms of my training schedule. Yeah,
Do you, okay, so I have a couple questions about that.
sure.
And I'm going to go ahead and ask them now because I'll forget one if I don't.
Okay.
One, do you feel like having the exact same training schedule or routine did you ever plateau? And two, what do you, when you ratchet up your live fire, like say for nationals coming up in September,
Hmm.
I'll guess around mid August, you'll go to 3 times live fire.
Hmm.
What are you trying to gain? Why are you adding the additional live fires in there? So those are the
Yeah,
two questions.
right. So for my live fire, because I have two broad categories of live fire sessions, I usually alternate them between them. One is focused on fundamentals. The other is more like a mini stage. So usually right before the major matches, I would do more mini stage live fire sessions. The reason obviously is to get, I think, because there's scenarios where I have to get used to, be comfortable, and also get more precise on some of the stuff I'm working on. For an example, transition and enter, exiting positions, etc. So those definitely require a lot more. I mean, ideally, I would like to have 3 live fires per week. So I would do one fundamental session and 2 mini stages, right? That would be my perfect. But I mean, what I have what I got, so I have to work with the time and my family and my work, and so that's all I got. Is I usually, if I have only one live fire per week, I would go do fundamentals. The next week I would do mini stage. So basically what I'm trying to do before major matches is to speed up that alternation so I get more mini stages in, without kind of totally abandoning fundamentals, which I always work on. So yeah.
Okay. And I
Mhm.
assume then that there are certain things you're working on with these small stages, these mini
Yeah.
stages.
Right.
Okay.
So yeah, so basically, I think there is a limited permutation or combination of scenarios in USPSC or IPSC. I remember I listened to Eric Grafal's interview. He said one thing which kind of strikes me is, and in practical shooting, knowledge is the is kind of the key. And I was like, what kind of knowledge, right? I mean, when he talks about knowledge, I think he refers to how you run this scenario without even practicing it. So that ties back to his approach in training is he always run this setup once only. He doesn't repeat it, right? So his training is high round count and only run each scenario once. That's it. I mean, for me, I mean, at least I definitely have not got to that level at all. So I mean, I can run this scenario as brand new like a code run, then I would feel okay, here I can do better by doing X, and then there I can do better by doing Y. So I wanted to do that again just to make sure I get to what I wanted, right? So that's where I think mini stages are important. Like you can put put a lot of permutations or combinations into those drills or training where you get yourself accustomed to certain movements, how the side's going to look like, how your body is going to feel like, some awkward positions for sure, which you definitely will see at some point in a match, right? So that's kind of where I think those mini stages are just accumulating your knowledge. the knowledge is a broad description of of everything pretty much. Yeah. It's a little bit abstract, but I think Eric was, I mean, in that interview was definitely right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Hmm.
you're just building your encyclopedia of knowledge. So when
Exactly.
you see it in a stage, you're like, oh, this is what I do.
Yes.
I gotcha. Yeah, that is. And
Hmm.
I mean, I look at there's two goats in shooting. One being Eric Graffel,
Hmm.
the modern day goat, if you want to call it that. And I look at Rob Latham as being the long term goat because the guy started winning back in the '90s and he's still winning today.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
but yeah, Eric Graffel is completely on a different level. That
Yeah.
guy is
Totally.
amazing.
Yeah. Hmm.
Still watching his videos today, it's like this dude is crazy good.
Yeah, his video is interesting too because keep in mind he only does that wrong once. He doesn't try to repeat it and put it on Instagram or Facebook. So whatever he does, it's like a code wrong for him. I mean, it's just amazing, right? Yeah.
That's illegal.
Yeah.
Wow. That's ridiculous. So, what does your schedule look like this year?
For major matches, I usually shoot the double tap championship, which is close to home, 2 hours drive. That's usually the first major I have in the year. As I described, I have like two kids. Well, see, my schedule totally depends on my time availability. I don't shoot a
Right.
lot of major matches in the past 4 or 5 years, probably like two majors every year or three at most. Is because my boys they play hockey and one plays travel since 8 years old, and the hockey parent, it's like taking them to the rink, stay there, and drive home, then travel to other states to play tournaments, etc. Literally spend double the amount of time I spend on my shooting with my son playing his hockey. Um, so this year things could change a little bit because my older one is going to college, and I might have a little bit more time. So I'm planning four majors this year. I got the double tab, I have the Dragons Cup, then I have Area 3, and then CO Nationals. So those are the four I'm planning right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you're not shooting Area 4 this year. You're just going to shoot Area 3.
Yeah, that's right. It's just yeah, the Area 4 happens after CO Nationals. I don't know yet. I mean, see, I wanted to shoot production nationals too, so but I don't know if I can get a spot. So if I do,
Hmm.
I will just practice between CO and production nationals. I don't think I would have the time to shoot any major during that time. It's only like 30 days. That's where yeah,
Right.
I would love to shoot Area 4. It's just the schedule, the timing isn't very good for me. Yeah.
Okay. I got you. So, you're going to drive up to Nebraska and shoot Area 3, huh?
Not driving, I'm gonna fly.
Oh, okay. You're going to fly.
So it's
Okay.
too far to drive. Yeah.
Okay. How far is it from where you are to Area 3?
Every three, it's probably like 12 hours, I think, more than 12
Oh, yeah, that
hours.
would be a
Yeah,
long drive for a
very long. Yeah.
yeah, for a one-day match for sure. You'd be spending more time driving than you would be
Yeah.
actually at the match. So,
Hmm.
so then I take it you're going to fly to CMP as well then.
Yes.
Okay. Hopefully, fingers crossed, everything goes well with the travel.
Hmm.
We've talked to a few people on the podcast that what the first nationals I shot, we ran into a Canadian couple that was shooting with us, and they almost didn't have guns to shoot
Wow.
because their guns went to a different airport, and then they had 1 hour to get from Frostproof to Tampa to pick them up because they were being shipped to Houston to a warehouse where the guy
Mm.
on the phone told them, if they make it to that warehouse, you'll never see them again. They're gone for good.
Wow.
Yeah, so they were like, "Wah!" They had to drive as fast as they could to get from Frostproof to Tampa to pick up those guns. I was like, "Oh my, I would be so mad."
Did they make it?
So they did.
Oh,
They
nice.
made it. They got their guns. Yeah, but I was like, that is terrifying.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine a worse story other than they never made it. You know what I mean? To go and shoot
Right.
nationals and you don't have a gun to shoot nationals. Holy cow, that would suck.
Yeah.
So part of before I get to that question, I want to back up to your dry fire. You said 30 to 45 minutes. Is that
Hmm.
every day?
Every day that I'm not on the range doing live fire. So if I do one live fire per week, then I would be dry firing 6 days a week. So I just
Okay.
make sure I handle my gun every day, whether it's live fire or dry fire. But I don't usually do multiple sessions, whether it's a combination of live and dry or just multiple dry fire. Well, there's a reason I don't do that. I know Hwangsik talked about, in his early days, he does 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon. I mean,
Yeah.
part of the being old is because I don't grow up shooting guns, right? My body isn't
Right.
built to hold the gun tightly for hours with no end, right? So I at the very very beginning I did try that, and God gave me tendonitis, on the fingers and the shoulder and etc. So I'm just trying to kind of, I guess for people who started shooting at 12, 14, their bodies are accustomed to this kind of repetitive use. So
Right.
they can actually handle a larger amount of, yeah, dry firing or live firing. But for older people, I think it's just counterproductive, I believe.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't find this sport until I was in my 50s. So,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
I'm right there with you. I get tennis elbow if I do
Yeah,
it too much. So,
absolutely. Yeah.
so your dry fire though, is it all just your basic fundamentals, or do you try to put together little mini stages in dry fire too?
I actually do three types of dry firing. And it's almost the same almost most of the times I do dry firing. One is I usually start with fundamentals, gun handling mainly, um, like jaw reload, etc. Then in between, I do mini scenarios, not stages, because my house is not big enough to put up stages or mini stages. So it's usually four targets, five at most, three, four, and it's like drawing, right? Engage two, do a reload on the move, then engage the last. If there's a fourth, then I would do a wide transition, do the fourth. It's such kind of a general description, but I do vary that every day. So that part is not constant. It changes day from day. Then in the end, I mean, finishing up, I always do this drill. I think Ben's book has it. It's a trigger press at speed. Personally, I believe it's one of the most important drill in dry fire you should be working on every day, every time you do dry fire. The reason being, well, for me, I'm started as a hoser. I mean, there are two types, right? Hoser and turtle, and
Yeah.
I'm always a hoser.
And I'm
And
the
this,
turtle.
yeah, this drill just kind of really showed me trigger control is the single most important technique you have to master if you wanted to shoot at high level. So yeah, so I think I mean, yeah, so that definitely that's the single most important drill for me. So I do it every day when I'm doing dry fire, and that's
Okay.
where I end my dry fire with trigger press at speed
Oh, so you do that at the end.
at the end. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, Ben has a drill that I really like because I hate starting off dry fire cold.
Hmm.
Like I feel like it takes me a while to get going if I do that. So
Yes.
he has that drill. I can't remember the name of it now, where you put your timer down, like by where your holster is. You put your hands up, and when in like a surrender
Mm-hmm.
position, and when the tone goes, you quickly, as fast as you can, you slap the timer to see how quick you can do it, which I like a lot because I find that if I do
Yeah.
that just 5 or 6 times, now my draw is almost as good as it's going to get when I start. So I really like that drill a lot, and I find I can usually, they say the tone is about 3/10 of a second.
Mm.
I can usually get it about 0.29, so I can usually hit it just before it's
Nice.
done. So it's a good
That's
warm
very
up for
nice.
me. That yeah. So I'm gonna have to. I've got some of his books, and I know the trigger press you're talking about at
Hmm.
speed. I may have to incorporate that in. I kind of like how
Yeah.
you do that.
Yeah, that definitely helps. And I like that warm up. So one thing I wanted to add to my dry fire is, so I say I dry fire 30 to 45 minutes, but overall the time is usually an hour. Reason being, I spend 10 minutes stretch, warm up, not related to gong stuff, just regular stretch, warm up. Then after the dry fire, I do a little bit of cool down. Reason being, I have injured myself in dry fires in the past, so yeah.
Oh wow.
I mean, as older people, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes so sometimes I do push myself, and that's where things could, yeah, some of the body parts can't take it anymore. And
Yeah, for sure.
hmm
Yeah, once you make that switch from fast twitch muscle to slow twitch muscle,
yeah,
everything the whole game changes.
yes, that's exactly right. Yep.
All right, that's interesting. So, all right, now I'm going to ask you the question about World Shoot because you've changed my entire question now. My initial question was, did you have any desire or intention to ever compete at the World Shoot, which you've answered.
hmm
But now, if we look back at your schedule, are you? Who knows if this World Shoot will ever happen the way it's going? But in the future, you have to shoot those IPSC matches. So, do
hmm
you ever plan on adjusting your schedule for those?
Absolutely. Yeah, IPSC nationals is always on my radar. So I do check with the USPSC organization on which matches are qualifying matches for World Shoot team selection. This year it's not gonna be. I think it's yeah, that's clear. Next year and the year after, I do plan to shoot IPSC nationals. I also make sure my guns, my gear are IPSC legal. Always my consideration because they're with the rules constantly changing USPSA, I mean, there are a lot of parts. I mean, you can add on, you can do stuff which are
Right.
probably not legal. I mean, a lot of them are not legal for IPSC. So I try to maintain my gear to be IPSC legal, so I don't have to retrain um, in case I get to shoot that. So yeah.
Okay. So
hmm
the two matches this year then are not
Right.
for. Okay. They don't
At,
qualify for anything.
at least for now, yeah. I mean, I did ask. I think I asked the president of USPSC, is World Shoot gonna be three once every 3 years, or because this year's World Shoot supposed to happen in 2020, then next year we're gonna have another World Shoot. I think no one knows that answer right now. Yeah. But
Right.
it's not likely to happen like that. So most likely they're gonna space the next one 2 years after this year's World Shoot. So
It almost seems. I almost feel like they should probably just, even with some of the travel restrictions still going on, do you just cancel it and put
yeah,
it back in 2023 and then keep the normal schedule?
yeah, that's another possibility. But yeah, again, I don't think anyone knows the answer for
Right.
sure yet. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't even think they know, the people
right.
who make the determination. So,
hmm
so what does your mental preparation look like?
Wow, that's a great question. I really don't have any official mental preparation strategy or plan. So yeah, be honest, that's an area I need to work on. I did read the books with Winning in Mind and a whole lot other books too. I mean, the problem for me is I couldn't just internalize those concepts in those books. For some reason, maybe it's because I have a very stubborn mind myself or something. So I don't know. Um, but usually I just try to stay calm and try to focus on the process and do the best I can. Again, I think I mentioned I don't try to beat anyone. Um, Maybe because I guess personality wise, I'm not kind of alpha male type. Um, but I'm a very detail oriented person. So that makes it easy for me to focus on the process with no distraction. I think it helps me in that perspective. Um, but other than that, I really don't have any consistent or official mental preparation for matches. Yeah.
Okay. You seem also like a very analytical person, especially with your background.
Yeah, I kind of analyze stuff to
Right.
death.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
But at the same time, I think that's if you're going to self-diagnose and get to that next level, I
Hmm.
think that's critical that you have that ability to be analytical like that. So
Yeah.
I, I can see where, and I also feel like people who are very analytical can a lot of times maintain more of an even keel. Like they don't have a lot of highs and lows. So because they're more focused on the process and, analyzing, oh, I need to keep it to this and do this. So I'm
Yeah.
sure that plays well for you.
Yeah.
All right. So what does your make ready slash visualization look like?
Um, so I typically would visualize in third person view when I'm making ready. I do first person view visualization when I'm walking the stage. So that's kind of my, um, I guess it's a strategy or it's an approach. I usually do it twice during make ready and then I'm ready. Um, and the other thing that I think it's important is to kind of, I mean, I still get distracted sometimes by people just talking while I'm making ready. I mean, I don't know how to kind of block that out. So I kind of just uh, I use those noise canceling earbuds. Right? I mean, there's a plug at the end. You can plug it on, then you get the maximum effect. It's almost like a foam earbud, and I do that in matches, so I don't hear what people are talking. I mean, vaguely I can hear some, but it helps me. Um, but I believe in general, less distraction is just always helpful during make ready because it can. I mean, where you're visualizing and you hear someone talking to you like, Dazzy is gonna do this in 6 seconds. Okay, so that totally distracts you, and I mean, at least distracts me, and that's kind of the thing I would like people could stop doing that. Yeah, but I try my best to block it out. So yeah,
I may have to cut this out because if Phil Strader listens to this, he may use it as a strategy to sabotage your performance.
yeah. So that's why I probably will double up my ear protection in
You,
nationals. Or
you should just wear like these big earmuffs that say
yeah.
anti Phil Strader on it.
But yeah, I don't think it effect impacts everybody, but it definitely impacts me. So make ready's routine is definitely make sure I don't hear what people are talking about and just visualize twice in third person view. Yeah, that's all.
All right, so that's interesting that you do third person view in your make ready. How does that look? I mean, are you looking, so I'm trying to put that into perspective. Are
Hmm.
you looking at the entire stage from like above and behind, or how does that look?
Just like my GoPro Max on the ground. So that's a benefit if you video
Oh.
yourself and watch your shooting all the time. You know how a perfect round would look like, and you just rehearse that during the make ready twice. You're gonna visualize how you're gonna, enter the position perfectly and then leave that. So I think the benefit of doing just third person view is you don't, I mean, there's just so much more details in the first person view, be honest. That's where when you walk the stage, you have the time and you have the mental capacity to do that more detailed uh, visualization. Third person view is better, I think, at make ready because you're standing there. You do. I mean, of course, you can do as long as you want, maybe within a limit, but still, I mean, you have this urgency um, by being on the spot, and you don't really have all that time and bandwidth to do a so detailed visualization in first person view. So third person view kind of ties everything together from start to end, and that's your perfect run. That's what you're trying to create, yeah, in your execution. So
That's very interesting. I think you're the first person who said it like that. That's very interesting. So when you're doing your walkthrough in your first person, are you calculating like where you need to aim on the targets for these things and all of that, or
Absolutely, yes.
okay.
So respect every target, including open targets, which you people tend to ignore. Yeah.
Right. Oh, I can blast through that one.
Right. The challenge, yeah, I think the lesson I learned is, yeah, it's an open target, but have you seen it here in this configuration, right? Maybe it's
Mm.
upside down, maybe it's sideways, maybe it's next, it's a wide transition from a mini popper. It's an open, but how much that transition is gonna look like from your eyes, like how you're gonna turn your head, how much you need to turn. So yeah, definitely that's why I said first person view visualization requires a lot of details. I mean, you have to look at all the details, and it takes time. Yeah. So.
You know,
Mhm.
you are very intriguing, Dazzy. I'm going to say that. You, as you were talking, in my mind, I'm like, this guy would make a great documentary. Meaning, follow you around with a camera at nationals and just analyze what you're doing and how you're doing things. That's very, very interesting.
Thank
You
you.
are very detail oriented, for sure. I can see exactly now why you ended up where you did in a very stacked Carry Optics Nationals. That's very impressive.
Thank you.
Shoot, what was the, you mentioned something about when you're doing your third party or a third person view, you know what a perfect stage looks like. I mean, I know
Yeah.
what a perfect stage looks like, but then my
Hmm.
stages look like Three Stooges. So I haven't quite perfected visualizing perfection and doing perfection.
Right. I mean, the thing is, the shooting, the USPSC sport is a sport full of regrets. I mean, no one ever does get a perfect run of a stage. But I mean, I mean, we should strive for a perfect run, right? But even if I visualize it many times, how this perfect run is going to look like from my GoPro Max, and there's still hiccups, mostly, I mean, 99% of the time. But I think it touches on the other side of the mental game is I used to dwell on those hiccups a lot. I would talk to other people about those pitfalls, the hiccup on the reload, like overstep here. Then, later I kind of learned those just happen all the time. You can't dwell on them. You have to spend your mental energy somewhere else, which is more productive, right? For the next stage, for an example. So yeah, but just have to accept the game as it is. Like it's a game full of regrets for most people. Yeah. There's just
Okay.
no perfect run. Yeah.
Even I saw on your Instagram an older post where you
Hmm.
show your qualification and all your 100 runs on the classifiers. Do you still analyze those and go, even though it's 100 run, I could have been better
Yeah.
here, there, and somewhere else?
Yeah. So one kind of insider knowledge, you cannot imagine how many screwed up jaws I had in those Hondo rounds. I can tell you it's 50%. 50% of the Hondo rounds I had on those classifiers, the jaws are not perfect at all. Yeah, you just have to deal with it and, of course, practice, strive for a perfect jaw every time, but it's not going to happen. Maybe at the higher level, for the pro shooters, for the top shooters, they have a much less probability of having a screwed up jaw. But still, it's gonna happen. Just have to deal with it and shoot through with a bad draw. That's also a training tape I gave to people. Don't just stop when you have a bad draw in a drill, because you're gonna shoot a match or at least the first few targets in an array with a bad draw, or in a classifier you have to shoot the whole thing with a bad draw. You still need to perform, right? So yeah,
Okay, I hear you.
yeah.
So
So I
you
already.
you
Mhm. Go ahead. Sorry.
oh well, I was going to say you've become accepting somewhat during the match.
Yeah.
You accept what's occurred, move
Yes.
along, because I noticed on one of your, I'm looking over there because that's where the that's where it was on the computer screen.
Hmm.
You had posted, I want to say it might have been Dragon's Cup or one of them, but it was from 2020. I believe, and you had posted a video of a stage you did, and you were moving from right to left, and everything looked good. But in your comments, you said, I kind of fumbled my reload because I was worried
Yeah.
about breaking the 180. And I was like, wow, I didn't even really, it looked good, but I wasn't watching your reload. And
Hmm.
you're the one doing it. So you typically, when you're doing it live, you're like, oh, crap.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
interesting that you're honest like that, too.
Yeah, that happens all the time, be honest. I mean, that's why I say this sport, this game is full of regrets. Yeah. So it may look like a perfect round, but the person doing it knows, here I screwed up a little bit maybe, but I did. So yeah.
Now, are those the things you work on in your dry fire then? Like you're
Yeah.
getting your draw perfect every time, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So getting to the perfect execution is the main focus. That's why I mean, dry firing, I mentioned there are like three segments, right? On the fundamentals part, I definitely strive for consistency. I don't, yeah. So one thing I don't do, probably most people do, is to use a part time. I haven't used a part time for 4 or 5 years, to be honest. I just use the timer
Wow.
as a starting. Yeah, because the thing is, interestingly, is I almost know how fast I'm doing things right now, but I really care is, can I do this consistently good, like well, perfect. I mean, I want, if I have 10 draws, I don't want it to have three bad draws. I want it to have maybe one or maybe zero. And I'm not striving for to hit a zero point 0.5 part time, but I do know I'm doing a sub second draw, which is fine. So timer wise, I would say, I guess for people who just started, part time is very important. But once you kind of know in your head how fast you're doing things, your mental focus should really be on the process or the execution itself, making sure you remember, or you sense all the feelings, all your sensory parts of your body. You know what the perfect jaw is, right? And you can try to repeat that. um, I think that's pretty helpful to most people. I would say people should try it. Yeah, try to just focus on the process instead of trying to race to the part time. I used to do that part time pretty heavily. I don't think it's bad, but it's not as productive as probably people think. Yeah.
Okay. Now,
Hmm.
do you ever like with? I'll just keep with the drill. I mean the draw because that's an easy one. But
Yeah.
do you ever get back and break it down into micro drills?
That actually I don't do. Yeah, I know. I do that for reload, but not for draws.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Hmm. Um,
What
yeah.
what does a micro drill for you for reloads look like?
Yeah. So reload is, I broke it down to three parts. So first part is your hand. Of course, your main hand is gonna push that mag release. I got a tiny hand, so I have to rotate. So that's, at that same time, your weak hand is gonna go down to the mag pouch. So those two happen at the same time. So I would call that part one. And interestingly, as time goes by, I realized that part one is actually the most time consuming part. And it's where you can actually save time on reload. Yeah, it
Hmm.
may sound counterintuitive, but it's true. And so the second part, of course, is to get the mag up. So your main hand is going to angle your gun a little bit, and the mag is going to come up and aligned to the mag well. So that's part two. The third part is to insert a mag and making sure it's seated correctly. Um, so at the beginning, I try to speed up the second part, the insertion itself. I think it's
Right.
not a very good strategy. Yeah, I think the most time saving would come from how fast your hand can grab the mag and put it into, or aligned or aimed at the mag well. The insertion part, I haven't actually trained that much at all. It's usually just one motion. Once you're aligned, you visually confirm, and your weak hand is going to have to regrip, right? So as part of that regripping motion, your palm is going to push it in hard. So that's what I do, yeah, for reload. But I wanted to say my reload or my jaw, they're definitely not the fastest at all. I know on Instagram people, yeah, there are some crazy
Right.
fast reloads and
Yeah.
draws. Yeah.
Right.
So I just strive for consistency and yeah, the good execution. So mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think consistency wins the game. But I tend to agree with you too that part one of that is the slowest because I find that when I have a slow reload, it's because I hesitated or I didn't, my weak hand or whatever you want to call it, support
Mhm.
hand was slow to getting to the magazine and stuff like that. The rest of it seems to go fine once I get the process moving.
Yeah.
It's getting the whole process moving that seems to be the issue.
Mhm.
Well, that's what I've got for questions, Dazzi. Do you have anything else you'd like to add, or?
Um, Not really. Yeah, I'm really honored to be here to be on your podcast, Dave. Thank you so much for
Oh,
the
no, I'm
opportunity.
honored to have you. You're a very impressive shooter, and getting to talk to you is very impressive. I look forward to meeting you in person at nationals and shaking your hand.
Yeah,
So,
I'm looking forward to seeing you too. Thank
all
you.
right.
Yeah,
Thank you. Have
yeah.
a great day.
You too. Yeah. Bye.
Until next time.
Don't be a little bitch.
Yeah.